Welcome to PAO Fans International. We got the Aussie boys back. We've got Panathafan and Nick. Welcome, boys.
Oh,
Serge, good evening, Nick. Good evening as well.
good evening. Just wish the season's back and Panathinaikos is back with a bang, aren't we?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wish it was better circumstances that we're catching up.
It's the Greek league. It's Panathinaikos. After any result that doesn't go away, it's always doom and gloom. It's always worst case scenario straight away. Straight away, and we'll discuss shortly. But we're always talking about the next coach, etc., etc. So, um, as you've heard, as you told us, that the Greeks don't see it as glass half full or half empty. They don't see any glass at all.
That's my favorite. When I heard it, that's my favorite quote. I'm gonna run with it from now on.
Let's just get straight into it. Let's start off with the Europa qualifying game. It was at Amsterdam Arena against Ajax. We won 1-0 the leg. We forced it to extra time, which we then forced it to penalty shootouts in the second longest penalty shootout. Total of 34 penalties. We did go down 13 to 12. The goal came through Tete in the 87th or 89th minute. And yeah, let's discuss what we saw in that match. Everything about that match. Let's go, boys. Who wants to kick it off?
I'm
All
easy.
yours, Nick. All
All
yours,
right,
Nick.
all right. I'll go first then. Um, very happy. Overall performance, can't knock it. Like full of fight, full of passion, full of determination. You could see there was a game plan. They stuck to it. Lots of good, solid performances. Fotis Ioannidis coming in made a difference because he was able to be a bit more physical compared to Yeremiev up front. And by the time Yeremiev came on, Forty had softened up their backline a bit. Look, Ajax still had their chances. They hit the post a couple of times and they threatened throughout the match as well. But not only us, look, no other Greek team would go to the Johan Cruyff Arena and shut out Ajax to like one or two chances. It's unrealistic. It was always going to happen, but so partially rode our luck, but we got the goal that we thoroughly deserved. I think in the 89th minute through that there, and he showed us exactly what he's capable of. We knew he loves a shot. He tried a couple of shots earlier, and that one went in and sparked crazy scenes. Then extra time, the subs made a real difference in this game. Like Aral was good, but like Maximovic when he came on, I was really impressed with in this game. Um, then we sort of I can't recall a major chance in extra time. That was the problem. Then yeah, as you said, that bloody penalty shootout, that heartbreaking in the end, but it is what it is. Last season we won 3 out of 3 penalty shootouts with 3 different goalkeepers. I know these days, goalkeepers, they do a lot of practice and training, and they know which way certain players are going to shoot. But there's always going to be an element of luck in penalty shootouts, and we rode our luck last season. 3 out of 3 was always going to run out at some stage. Unfortunately, it was now. Dragovski phenomenal in the penalty shootout, must be said. Well, I'm not even going to bag Vilena for the last penalty miss. He took one earlier, in the first round of penalties, and I can't know if you guys remember, he trickled in. Like, it was originally saved and then trickled in. Um, Jedvai took 2 great penalties. Yeah, and this is being glossed over by a lot of our fans. We went into this penalty shootout without our 2 best penalty takers. No Bakasetas, no Ioannidis. You put them on taking penalties, I reckon they would have made a difference as well, honestly. Then yeah, unfortunately, they're both goalkeepers. Even there's was solid as well. Both of them took great penalties. Unfortunately, we came out on the losing side. It is what it is. I can't slam anyone, honestly.
Yeah, look, Nick, from my perspective, I think I agree with most of what I said. I won't repeat the same teams other than to add maybe in the first leg, luck was not on our side in terms of we had some of the better chances, and they had the post as well. Flipped that to the second leg during the game itself. I thought luck was definitely on our side. As you said, they hit two posters. The second one, which is right towards the end before we scored, if I recall correctly, which hit the inside of the post and went behind Dragowski and went out of play. So certainly we came very close to conceding and would have been knocked out in the 90 minutes. But putting that all to one side, you can clearly see what Alonso's plan was for the game in terms of the game plan, and he worked. He pulled it off. We've got the goal, got the win in terms of the 90 minutes. I thought extra time, if those changes, it's a good call out. We looked better with the changes. I thought our midfield did struggle, especially in the first half. And I thought Ajax were the better team in the first half. In the second half, and then more so in extra time, we were starting to get on top in extra time. Whilst it was, I can't recall, as you say, clear chances. There were a couple of moments where we could have made it a clear chance. No secret on past pods. I'm a fan of Yeremayev. But there's a couple of moments where I thought he executed quite poorly or made the wrong calls, and where we could have had some really good chances if he'd done his part right. But overall, can't ask for much more than that. As you said, 1-0 away in Ajax. It doesn't matter how strong they are. It is a venue, a team that you're going to struggle in a European qualifier against, and we've come up with a 1-0 win after extra time is a great achievement. So full credit to the boys. Penalty shootouts, like you said, Nick, there's no point calling out specific players for missing or scoring. Some like Mancini, miss one, score the other. That's what happens. It's just hot luck. But you're right, Dragowski certainly deserves a recognition for what he did. I still think, though, that we're not settled on a starting 11 based on what we saw. I think still feels like Alonso is trying to work out the best starting 11. And that's something we'll discuss further when we assess the Asteras game. Because based on how the Ajax game went, would we have done better if we had a different starting 11? Possibly.
Yeah. Well, the first 10 minutes were very good from us. We applied a lot of pressure. We were parked outside the box in that opening 10 minutes. A lot of good passage of play. What frustrated me was the rash shooting from Bakasetas. He broke down a lot of plays just from reckless shooting, just shooting from distance, not controlling the ball, making a play. Just he did that like 3, 4 times, and it was quite poor. From about the 10th to the 30th minute, it was all Ajax. The midfield was almost non-existent. We couldn't even get out of our half. It felt we are just facing so much sustained pressure from Ajax, where I don't think Mladenovic and Kotsiras were providing width. Kotsiras was getting beat for pace quite often as well on that right side. It's one of the slowest I've seen Cortinas up against, more of a pacier player, but he was just constantly getting tormented on that on his side. Got to half time. We had ample chances. Juricic as well. He had a good chance where he picked up the loose ball. Keeper came out with a high IQ play. Made himself big. Got the shot block. Um, Forty's starting was phenomenal. The guy didn't have a lot of opportunities. He didn't get a lot of good service, but he chased down everything, uh, pressured their backs, turned, got the ball turned over. We probably could have, in my opinion, that's a penalty. 8th minute,
Yeah.
we were denied a
Yeah.
penalty
Yeah.
and a red card for me. People argue, even if it wasn't a red card, that he won the ball. If you tackle from behind and there's
Yeah.
contact and then you
Yeah.
win the ball, it's a penalty. There
Exactly.
was
You can still win the ball and get the men, which is a penalty.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
clear contact on one of the angles that was it Horta, or he
Had I think.
Haro, yeah. He makes clear contact with 40, then gets the ball. I think it was him. I can't remember. No, it wasn't him. It was the other one, I believe. Maybe.
Frutalo.
Yeah, no, it wasn't him. It was, I think, maybe Bus, but it was clear contact first. So, ridiculous. I believe that was not given. Um, yeah, like I said, 40 was phenomenal in that game. Just for not having much, he created his own sort of chances. Then I felt the subs were coming a bit late. They came in around the 70th, so it's around that same time Yova used to like to make his subs, but the subs that he made, I I felt a bit confused and questioned the subs that he made at the time, but all his subs were perfect that he made. Everyone really stepped up. Vilena played, or he played okay. Once Zeka as well. Zeka made some big key tackles. Maximovic. I think once that trio came in, the midfield seemed very settled defensively. Ajax did not offer anything. Then the passage of play came where Tete got into the box. There was a rebound. It fell to him, and he placed it past the keeper. We did have two opportunities in the extra time. There was one right at the start where Tete shot at the keeper, straight at the keeper from the side of the box. And the other one was at the start of the second half where his shot got a deflection. It was a low shot and it went for a corner. It had wrong footed the Ajax keeper. If that shot was
Yeah.
going trickling on target, that's the tie right there.
No,
Um,
it's good memory, that one, because that was a really good opportunity, though. Forgot about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that that was going in. Um, then penalties, you can't fault penalties. Penalties are it's a roulette, like it's a dart throw, as they say. It's down to chance. Players are fatigued, 120 minutes. Some players that played, you got the pressure. You can't fault anyone. There was tired legs out there, and it showed
Brobby for them missed two penalties.
exactly. And he's one of their star players.
60 million euro man, whatever his value is.
And yeah. So it's potluck. You can't fault the thing. You could see Alonso just how distraught he was after that result, what it meant to him as well. And I think the team received wide praise from the fans. It just felt for once there might be quite a bit of unity. We hadn't seen it since the over days. So I pointed that out in a tweet that I made. He can continue the work that Yova built because what Yova did was built that unity, and Alonso with that performance and result, although we didn't progress, felt like fans were going to be on board. Um, but then it's going to lead to the Asteras game right now, which I hate waking up 3 a.m. games and for these kind of performances. So we played Asteras Tripolis, which we lost 1-0. I think it came in the 52nd minute, courtesy of a free kick. That happened. So we had a corner, they made a break, and Zeka got beaten. Then he fouled the player's last man, red card, and from that free kick, plenty of controversy in this match as well. From that free kick, they scored. Did you boys want to discuss what you saw, how you felt post match, everything around that?
Do you want to go
There's a lot
first?
of this.
Panathafan.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a lot of criticism coming out of the yesterday game. And yeah, I think a lot of it's probably not justified, and a lot of it is just random opinions. One of the opinions that seems to be getting a lot of discussion is around the rotation. Why is he doing such a big rotation early on in the piece? And for me, I totally understand why he rotated the team. I mean, we've come off a European game, what, 4 days ago, and it was arguably the longest game in European history as far as the penalty shootout alone was half an hour.
Three and a
So,
half hours
so
in
it,
total, whatever it was.
it, I recall getting up at 4 a.m. and it's 7:15. I'm thinking, oh, at some point I'm going to have to go to work here, and yet, yeah, this game was still going. So, how could you not rest some of those players after such a long, grueling game? And if I sort of break it down, then someone like Mladenovic, who played the whole game plus penalty shootout, took 2 penalties. The guy needs a rest. Max needs to make his debut at some point, and I have no issue for him to make his debut in game against Asteras. Um, and I can go through each individual player. So Bayanidi deserves starting 11, and I think he was the better right back in the Ajax game when he came on. I think he made a great impression. Um, the midfield definitely needed a bit of a reshuffle and rest. Um, and I think that some people say, oh, he doesn't, Alonso doesn't know his players yet to be able to trust them in rotation. Well, at what point is he going to be able to trust them? You need to test them now and try them now. And, these players have made appearances in the European games. Why would he not think that they were capable enough to then start a game against Asteras, not against Lens? Furthermore, I think the obvious statement here is the game against Lens, which is a knockout European tie, which is make or break for us for our season in Europe, is far more important than a game against Asteras. Absolutely going to rest your key players. Absolutely, I'd rather see Yeremayev start in this game versus what Forty starting. I'd rather see Forty against Lens any day of the week. The only one I'm sort of a little bit surprised with, but understand though, is Tete start. Because for me, Tete should be a starter against Lens.
I think he'll
That's
start
my.
against them.
I hope he does.
He has
But
to. He has to
yeah,
because
and
Mancini's out.
what injured,
No,
Suspended.
suspended.
suspended. Yes, of course he is. Yeah, second
Which is
yellow.
why I know he played a full game. I would have started Mancini in this game.
Absolutely. So that's probably the one choice I sort of scratched my head over, right? But in going back to the game itself, he rotated. Players still would have been on not on a high, the opposite in terms of coming off such a huge game against Ajax, playing in an empty stadium against Asteras. This was a recipe for disaster, no matter which way you look at it. I recall a number of years ago, and I love bringing up this memory when Olympiacos had beaten Man U in Europe. I think they were on a high. They were undefeated. They had the game at Garaskaki against us to win the championship, and and we were not that good at that back then. Yeah, yeah. In comparison, and yet what happened? We know what happened.
That was over 10 years ago.
Right, but that's the thing. Yeah, there's always this thing about teams coming off a massive game in Europe on a bit of a buzz, a bit of a high, so to speak, really crushing at home because it just doesn't compare, especially when you're playing in an empty stadium, especially when you're rotating players, especially when it's the start of the season where these sort of slip ups happen because you got a new coach as well. This was the game where it was going to go wrong, and that happened. Add to that as well, you got Zeka getting sent off and copping a great free kick goal. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Let's not talk about the controversy around the offside as well.
We'll bring it up.
Hmm.
So
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know on the offside. The ref had clearly had a shocker, and he's someone that's killed us in the past. He should never be on Panathinaikos games, and it was Asteras that were the ones that threatened not to show up to this game because of this referee. Remember,
yeah, they're creating
this
fuss.
is a ref that has it in for us, and under this airboy, if they're serious about making change, they got to get rid of him ASAP.
They created
we've been
fuss.
complaining about it for years.
They created the fuss leading into the game, and yeah,
Deliberate now, looking at it in hindsight.
well, yeah. For me, I believe the goal. I don't know if it was offside. I'm gonna be clear on it, but what my stance is in that play, and I'm gonna review. I'll give you my thoughts on the game. My stance on that goal was the measurement of the line was from the foot, not from the shoulder. The shoulder should have been the measurement, was the shoulder was more forward, keeping that may have kept Tete on side if they measured by the shoulder. I can't be too sure because the angles, we can't just go off by the angles and just make
Exactly.
hypothetical lines. But for me, the line was drawn incorrectly. Um, whether the shoulder keeps Tete on or not, that's to be seen. So we saw that in the 20th minute that happened, but it was a fucking shocking, and sorry for the swearing, it was a shocking performance where the first 23 minutes, and because of, and I will criticize the heavy rotation. I know you need to rest some players, but you got a 36-year-old Zeka that hasn't started the game for us and started this game, and you probably have better players that have been outcasted in Chokai that can offer more pace, fitness, just probably even IQ, because we know Zeka's had a couple of brain snaps playing for us. We've seen him being sent off in his debut return. We've seen him gift away a clumsy penalty versus Ike that cost us 3 points. So we know Zeka is not someone that acts where you can rely on him to not do something silly.
Yeah.
And what happened was, and we'll come to the goal. I'll continue the first half and the criticism, the heavy rotation. I felt like we probably could have played a Choke there. Probably could have gone someone else, but for us to have gone Zeka, we just that midfield looked horrible. Asteras Tripolis took advantage of us. What you need to do in these games is you need to have a strong midfield. The midfield dictates the game. It will alleviate pressure from the defense and it will help sustain pressure on your opposition's defense. If your midfield is getting overrun, not getting the ball, our defense is going to be under pressure. Our defense was completely under pressure. Asteras had multiple chances, and it wasn't until that drinks break in the 23rd minute was when we kind of restart and we got back into the game. We kind of grew into the game. Jeff had a good opportunity with the header, um, and that's about it. The only like we couldn't create with that midfield. The only opportunities that we created were runs made by Vayanidis. The only opportunities that were being made were runs from Vayanidis. The midfield was non-existent. How is Tete and who played left wing?
Jurisic.
Jurisic, how are they meant to play when they're not getting any ball, when they're not getting anything? It's hard to fault those attacking three up front.
Yeah.
Jeff had that one, like I said, that chance, and that's it. Half time, you kind of thought, all right, we're coming up a bit more positive. We have a corner, they break away, Zeka gets easily beaten, and then clumsily brings down the play and gets sent off. I'm not going to complain about the red card. I felt, yes, red card. Some referees might have given a yellow. I can understand a red. It's last man, even though our player was coming in, closing this gap. It's still last man for me. It's a red card, but the next piece of controversy happens in this play. There was two big controversial moments where the place of the foul was not where the placement of
Yeah.
the ball was. It was moved about at least 5 meters forward. And the second controversy was, and it's a rule that no opposition player can be touching the opposition wall. They can't be making any contact with the wall. And there was an Asteras player making contact with the wall. That should have been overturned straight away. Post-match, allegedly, Sidiropoulos was unaware of it. So he's unaware of it, and VAR conveniently unaware of it as well. The free kick was hit with real venom. If you look at the free kick, there was a lot of power in it. Lottigan probably should have done better with the save, palming it away, but that free kick had a lot of power in it. It was well hit. And then we just looked defeated after that. We didn't really create too much. We made the subs, bringing Forti, Bakasetas. Vainidis tried. I feel sorry for the kid. I thought he was truly our best player once again. Vilena was average. Maximovic probably disappointed, and Zeka was woeful. Um, and
Comes through our midfield, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. So
we
you got
got dominated through the midfield.
yeah,
so
yeah.
so who's the true defensive mid there? Who's the attacking mid?
We didn't
Out
have
of
They
those
went.
three?
we didn't have a true
They
attack.
went with Zeka. Zeka as the more defensive one. Then they would have had Vilena as the eight, and that's the
And,
problem.
I think
and
we
what, and
Maximovic.
what role does Maximovic play?
That's the problem, and this is why Maximovic struggled, and it's not his fault.
and
Look,
we're
this
and
game, this game showed how much we miss Bakasetas. He copped a slamming from certain sections of the fan base a couple of weeks ago for his bad performances. This game, we I know he came on, we missed him. Someone that can get a shot away, get the ball moving. We missed him big time in this. And I'm with Panafa. I fully, like Alonso, would have fully rotated.
I'm not disagreeing with the rotation. I definitely agree with it, but there were certain players, in my opinion, that probably should have been kept off the team sheet or on the bench.
Well, let me throw one name at you. You mentioned Sokai, good shout. What about Nikas?
He might be injured.
He's
Okay,
injured.
Yeah.
okay.
So there's that, and my frustrations also. There's another thing that I'm frustrating with, and I hate blaming referees. Other teams do it. We've had two teams of the last few years complain a lot. I don't want to be in that same bucket, but where my frustration leads, and I was mentioning this to Panatha off air, was the linesman was quick to raise his flag on the offside of the goal. He did it like straight away after, like, take their first time shot, whatever, goes in, calls it offside. That's a brave call for there. But if he does not raise that flag, I think for
Gives it.
me, VAR rules that as a goal.
Yep.
He doesn't have to challenge the referee. Now he's got to support the official's call on the field, which makes it easier for him to rule the goal offside. And that's purely my opinion. And that's what purely frustrates me because VAR will most likely lean into the referee unless there's something clear and obvious. That was more on the borderline, and it was easier to um agree with the official's call on the field. And that's what
No,
was
exactly.
frustrating.
Exactly. Look, the problem was in this game. Alonso now knows. We already knew as fans. Alonso now knows the backups aren't good enough. The depth needs to improve. That's the major takeaway from this game. Because as I said, I fully would have rotated. And you hit the nail on the head. The ref was appalling. But we're not going to sit here and be Ike and Olympiacos and slam and criticize referees. Take the ref out. We did not deserve to win. As you said, Asteras came with a plan and they executed it, and we were the ones under pressure.
And my good friend Lil Foros says that we need to build a squad to not only win on the field, to beat the refereeing.
Yeah.
Bulk last year did that. They won the league. They had some very bad calls against them last year, Bulk, and they won the Protathima on the field by beating the teams and beating the ETCR. We are not at that level yet. We're not beating the the teams and the refereeing decisions. We truly found out that Alonso tried trusting in his personnel, but we don't have that quality of depth. And that's going to raise question marks around the season, especially with our European campaign and around that December, January crunch period where we're playing quite often, as well as what happens in the playoffs as well. But social media has gone into meltdown. Something that I alluded to at the start of the episode. Social media has gone into meltdown. Where do we start? They're blaming heavy rotation. They're blaming Alonso. There's talks about Alonso already getting sacked. There's talks about Vorkalos just waiting in the wings, and I probably understand Vorkalos will be a natural replacement if anything does happen, but I don't see Alonso getting the sack. I think we're just being typical Greeks and we're just looking doom and gloom. We're looking worst case scenario after one game. We're just straight away pressing the panic buttons, playing this whole victim mentality, just this whole thing. It's like there's a process. Alonso is trying to build something with something that he doesn't have. We've got a lot of junk players that we haven't even sold. We've got Kleinheisel on the books. We've got Choquet still, Truliet. We've got Exum Sporter, and I'll come to that soon. We've got Sporter. We haven't even sold a player yet. The players that have gone off contract that have left, that they have left, but we've got players that are surplus to requirements that
They can't find a club.
then we can't get rid of them. So that you can't blame Alonso for that because he doesn't want those players. And we probably could have done with Ruben as well. I should have maybe made that clear because I've got him far superior to Zeka, and his leadership would
Yeah,
have been far superior to Zeka's as well. So that's my point of criticism. But yeah, we don't have the depth, and
that's Papa Dimitriou.
yeah, whoever's job is to sell the players, and they haven't done it.
And you started on that one. I mean,
So
it's easy to go on transfer market and find players to sign there, but you actually got to work for trying to find clubs to buy the players you don't want.
We were saying last season on here, there's got to be like 10 players that go. I know it sounded excessive. Terim even said it too. Some have left, and Sturge rattled off some names as well. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, but that's the extent of it. There's a lot of deadwood there.
So
It's
let's
a
go through the
bloated
list.
squad.
Let's go through it, right? So let's start from the back line first. You got Eric Palmer Brown, who
he's
I
likely to
don't
go.
even know if is he like is he in consideration? I don't think he is because it's
Uh,
the mystery from last year continues, right? Where is Eric Palmer Brown? So he's one. Then you've in terms of defenders, any other defenders you think that I don't know what's happening with Magnuson? Is he
He's
even
next
I,
in consideration?
I think September he'll come back. Whopper?
Okay. All right.
George
So
Baldock.
well,
Yeah.
there's a disaster signing and he hasn't even really made an impact yet. But he's not on the outer, right? So
No,
he theoretically he's a wanted player. So
Kind of
who's that?
is. He
Sorry?
kind of is because sorry, and I had internet issues, but he kind of is because
we've got
he's been excluded from the European list.
and we've got two right backs.
So but he won't get told to go.
No,
No,
He'll be retained, yeah. So
unless after
if
6 months.
6 months, yeah, but right here and now, Eric Palmer Brown, Choco, Gruyere,
yeah,
Aitor,
Ruben,
Verbic,
Perez.
Spora, Ruben,
I'd
there's
put
seven.
personally, he's not on that list. I'd have Villena there, but he
I
obviously is
I
playing.
think Vilena's on the outer as well.
Yeah, I'd count him. So it's eight players.
Did you mention
Uh,
Kleinheisler?
No,
no, I forgot about Kleinheiser. Nine.
Sporter?
Limnios.
No, he's not on the outer.
No, he seems to be wanted.
What if these wingers come in?
Then he could be on the outer too, for all we know.
So now,
So
and
that's nine. We may have missed someone, right? 'But that's nine players that really shouldn't be there. Nine. So the rumor that Tyrion called out 10 wasn't far from the truth, I think.
I think it was spot on.
Yeah,
Right? And then we go back to the controversies of Ivan getting the sack last year. Well, I think the players cost him,
big
to be
time.
honest.
They cost both coaches.
They did, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not pretty. Now, and I know we'll talk about separately in terms of players coming in and some of the rumours about who's coming in. But yeah, I can't be too critical of the club if they're delaying these transfers of players coming in. If you've got 9 players that are earning millions and millions of euro, they shouldn't be there. That if all those 9 players were to go tomorrow, are we going to miss any of them?
No,
No.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
it's a bloated squad.
And who's to blame for that?
Papa Dimitriou.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd say he's part at fault, but you'd also have to, a couple of the sightings were made by Yova as well, so he also is a bit at fault as well. Um, yeah, but Terim as well. He's the one that wanted Baldock, and Alafuzos made
Limnios.
that signing on behalf of Terim against Papa Dimitriou. So
I think Lemieux was just before Terry was signed, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I don't
Actually, I
think
think
that
you're
was
right.
his.
He
Yeah,
was
no,
I don't
signed
think that was his.
under Terim, but they started talking to him beforehand.
yeah, they
Yeah,
started talking to him in November, so I think that was way before Terim. So I don't think that's a Terim signing. But yeah, but we'll talk about the player rumors soon. Let's get into the Sorry, I wanted to just get back to the because it's a bit of a hybrid between with the Ajax leading into Asteras. Ajax lost 2-1 to a promoted team as well, to NAC Breda. I believe in the 91st minute they copped the second goal. So the game on Friday, and we only had 3 days rest, not 4 days. So both teams had 3 days rest, and both teams suffered a loss. Panathinaikos at home to Asteras, who's mid-table team. They signed a few good players to bolster their roster. But Ajax lost to a promoted team that finished second in the second division of Holland. So, you know, that game obviously took its toll on both teams there. So, it must be noted that as well. So, yeah, that's my point that I want to make. But we'll get into the next game. We are in um this is the final qualifying round for the
Playoff round.
Europa Conference League. And just as luck as would have it, we get probably drawn one of the most hardest teams possible. Lens. Traditionally, Panathinaikos does not do well against French teams. Historically, we don't do well, yeah, especially against the Western European teams, so like your Belgium, your French. We don't have a good history of results against them. So we did get Lens. Lens finished seventh last year. Um, they were in the Champions League. Most notably, they beat Arsenal in France, but then they copped the hiding away. Um, But this his squad seems a bit different for Lens. And we'll go into it. Do you guys know much about Lens, your points, anything like that?
They they haven't got the pedigree of clearly of that's stating the obvious. They haven't got the pedigree of an Ajax, but they're probably more of a team at the moment compared to an Ajax. Your good friend, as you mentioned, Leoforos, he did a couple of good videos on them. They're more defensive minded teams. So they're not a team that's going to create bucket loads of chances, but the chances they create are either going to be a big chance or a goal. And they're very effective when they go forward, but they focus on the defense, and they've got a couple of big units centre backs. But I'm sure you guys are going to get onto it as well. They've lost a couple of key players via player sales.
yeah, I
Pardon?
don't have a hell of a lot to add other than what has just been discussed. They're a very solid unit. They're a very stable team as well, other than these 2 players that they're losing. So we have played them before in Europe a long, long time ago. I think it was one.
Twice.
It was twice we played them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we have beaten them, but they've also beaten us, to be fair. But yeah, that's no indicator of whether our chances are higher or lower at this point. I think the question mark is going to be more about us and how we approach a game versus Lions. I think Lions is going to be pretty solid and pretty predictable here, and
What do
clearly the
we do
favourite.
there? What do we do? Do we go with the mindset of we got to attack them there? That'd be, I don't know.
In my opinion, I think we do.
In the
I think that
first
we got
leg?
to, yeah, in the first league. I feel like in the first league, we either got to get a draw or a win. If we're going to be
Oh,
any
yeah.
chance, yeah,
Yeah.
the pressure's going to be on us at home in a return leg. So we're really going to come back for a favourable result.
The other thing, and this might not mean much, call me crazy. I think this game means more to us than what it does to them, this tie.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Well,
But yeah, in terms of yeah, going back to what you said about they're a more defensive minded squad, that may suit us. If they're more going to play on the counter, if I was thinking about our weakness based on the game against Ajax, even though we only conceded one goal with two legs, our defense is still not solid at all. I think that the final third, even though we only scored one goal, over two legs, I've got more like, confidence in the final third now with Tete there and Forty coming back from injury versus our back four. And Ingerson's a solid player. I don't think he's settled yet. And the Ingerson Yedvai pairing just doesn't seem to be working perfectly right now. If Lens is defensive rather than attacking, who knows? They may well give us a bit of breathing space.
well, my take on it is, and let's go with what they did. So they debuted in the French league essentially for the season. They got a 1-0 win away against Angers SC. They're a promoted team. Um, if you look at it, fairly even, fairly even across the board. A good friend from America, Alex, watched their game. He said the first half it was fairly even. Second half they stepped it up a notch. Um, could I may have gotten it either way wrong. But essentially, no. First half, Lens played very well. Got a 1-0 lead, and then from there, just they went into more of a defensive show that Angus started getting a lot more ball opportunities. What's positive in our matchup against them is they've lost their star striker to Marseille, and people are going to call me out because when I said we historically don't do well against French teams, we did knock out Marseille, but there's a host of other teams like Rennes who are more poorer than Marseille, which we lost both games. Um, and then second half, Alex did note to us that um, their defender Kevin Danso, um, who was voted man of the match by the fans, had a big game for them. So what's significant why I bring up Kevin Danso is he's linked with that Atalanta, rumored close to signing, agreed personal terms, Champions League team, 30 million euro is the price. I think it's close to being agreed upon. So if he's being sold, which apparently looks very, very close within the next few days, that's a big out for them. Especially with, if you're voting him as your player of the match, that means he did a lot of significant things to keep the game at 1-0, which would suit us, essentially. How we should play, I would honestly say play the same way as we did with Ajax. Stick to what works, stick to what we know, stick to what works. Hold your defensive shape, hold your shape, and your chances will come, essentially. We see chances can come from Tete when he comes on as impact. He'll probably be starting. We've also got Juricic. You can't really fault him too much so far. I think he's been
No.
doing doing not bad for what's been asked of him. He was fairly anonymous in the Ajax game, but he did have that one big chance that he sort of created um, as well. So I think there's opportunity to take something away from France and win it at home. Yeah, I definitely would take a draw 100% and force Lens to not shit the bed, as they say. Do an Amber Heard, and I think Waka. I don't know if it's going to be rocking or not, especially after the Asteras game. If there was a win in the Asteras game, there probably would have been a lot more momentum. I think um, a lot is gonna factor in with what we do in France as well. So, and it is past Deca Pende Augusto, so there'll be more people back home. Um, so we'll just wait on that.
The
The
one
game,
position, you go first. Go, go.
I was going to say, if the game was tomorrow at the Wacker, then I'd be worried about the crowd. But one day is a long time in Greek football. And by the time the return leg comes, we would have played against Lions, we would have had another game in the Super League. We may have some new player transfer signings, and aesthetic could be a long in the past. So
And there's not a whole lot of form as well to go off with Lons. They beat Leicester 3-0, but this Leicester team is tipped for relegation to go straight down. And reading the reports on that game, Leicester they didn't feel the full strength team, but they were absolutely hopeless. So I wouldn't look at the Leicester game as a measurement. I'd say Angers is a little bit more something to look at. 1-0 against a promoted team, which looked like more of an arm wrestle. That's something to look at. Obviously, losing their star striker from last season and um, with their best defender now looking on the outer, um, things might get a little bit easier for us.
And if we can add a couple of new signings, when's the deadline? When's the cutoff for the squad?
2 weeks.
No, for this first leg.
I'm not
it's already, I think it's the day before the game. You got two changes you can make to the squad.
So we basically need a signing in the next 24, max 48 hours,
48 hours, yeah.
Well, we know a
maximum.
spot has been opened up because um,
Bulldog.
yeah, Baldock has been excluded, and we'll get to the signing soon after we wrap up
Oh,
the
yeah, we can sort of guess the 11. We from goalkeeper to striker. The only sort of position that's up for grabs in my mind is that conundrum, as you guys have both highlighted in midfield. Sedin versus Maximovic.
I think Seren will get the start. I
I
think
think so too.
I think there's a lot more control in them. I won't say more control. I think there's a little bit more ball playing with him there. Um, I don't
But
think
he doesn't him too, Sedin, he doesn't suit Alonso's style fully either.
he was good maybe in the previous game, but in the first leg, but in the second leg, he was fairly anonymous. Him Araug was fairly good, but he got subbed, and I think we were a bit loose in that midfield at times. The midfield definitely tightened up once those two came off, but eh, I do think Seren does get the start.
Well, yeah, Maximovic started in this morning's game.
Yeah,
I don't have a clear view yet on is Maximovic better as an 8 or better as a 6. I don't have a clear view.
Yeah,
I think his
And
positioning is more of an 8.
8. I'd lean towards the 8.
so, if that's the case, then you'd have Bakaseta at the 10, Aral as a 6, and Maximovic as the 8. I don't know. I mean, I can only make a call on the fact that we've seen Sharon play that role so many times.
It's going to be interesting as well how how Lens lines up as well because they're a team that operates in a more the unique lineup in terms of their formation. They operate as like a 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-3. So they got three backs, four midfielders, like an attacking mid. You can almost say 3-5-2 as well. And they play with two up front as well. So it will be interesting to see how they approach the 4-2-3-1 if they're gonna play at home with that 3-4-1-2 formation that they line up against as well, or will they alter things?
Look clear then what new players we're bringing. Assuming we get some new players.
Well, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we'll finish up the lens. And before we talk new players, I just want to talk about our current players as well. Player performances. So yeah, do we have predictions for lens? What do you guys think?
1-1.
We're gonna lose 2-0. And I say that because I hope I'm wrong. No, and I'm jinx the result and it goes the other way.
Yeah, my 1-1 draws more in hope than anything.
I'm gonna go with a 1-0 win, late goal.
If that
Jesus.
happens, Asteras is not going to be a distant memory. It's going to be like a bloody, you know what like you're saying, the Greeks are like the Greek psyche. It's going to be like 100 years ago if that happens.
And I'm calling it. I feel like it's gonna come via like a late goal as well.
Yep.
What do you
Yep.
get there?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking more of a winger. I don't know if it's Tete. I'd say it's gonna come from the wing or a Bakasetas. But leading to that player performances, I think for me at the moment there are some players that aren't playing that good, and Bakasetas is one of them for me. I don't know if he's looking disinterested. I don't know if he's going for glory for himself, showboating, or maybe even looking for an out. Um, I just think he's been playing poor. As I said, my big criticism of him was in that Ajax game where he conceded the foul and an early yellow card from that fifth, sixth minute, and he almost looked like he was scared to go into tackles. He was just shooting, not doing anything creating wise, and it was frustrating because it was complete opposite what he did with the in the first leg where he played pretty good. Bordev, he kind of turned the game around by himself as well, played well in that attacking mid, but against Ajax, he was just hitting him with no, I don't know, as a low IQ sort of play where were there better options? I feel like there were better options to hold the ball, look for an extra pass. And I think so far he's been really disappointing. Um, Gortilas as well. Against Ajax, his quality showed. I think he can't be the starting back in these European games. The job has to go to Vayanidis. For me,
Yeah, yeah,
Vayanidis has proven himself to be the main starting right back. The club need to shut down any talk and just give him a new contract. He's on a youth contract, whatever it's called, the train on contract, whatever, 90,000 euro a year. Pay the fucking kid. Like, he's a starting right back, his potential Greece starting right back. He needs to get the role of Panathinaikos starting right back. You can bring in Kortiras as one of those role players in a rotation, but not to start ahead of Vayanidis. That's my big gripe at the moment. I think Vayanidis should get that starting role. We should absolutely offer a contract, shut down any exit talks. Those humiliating low ball offers from Botafogo. Glad we shut them down straight away. But there's that. I think uh,
But
I'd
the
say
Botafogo offer though for him was really attractive. I think it was up to €1 million a season if
that's
the rumors were
outrageous.
correct.
But the transfer fee was really humiliating low. They came in with a €1 million offer. That was
But what it does though, it shows the player that he can earn $1 million a year if he just hangs on one more year and goes as a agent. So it's going to force the club's hand from our end. You either pay him a fuckload more, or you're going to lose him for nothing. It's one or the other.
Vilena has been pretty poor. I think it's quite easy to see the fans have completely turned on him. I think it's no secret he's not a fan favorite. He's had poor performances in all his starting games. Ajax,
Botev,
Botev, he missed the penalty. He gave away the goal against Botev. Um, he started this game and he couldn't even do a 2 meter pass. Just easy passing. He couldn't even achieve that.
and the killer is he's one of the highest paid.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of his last year. Don't get me wrong, I liked him because what I saw in him was I thought he was the kind of midfielder that I think what we're expecting from Maximovic that we're not getting out of Vilena, where he's just a solid player. He does a lot of the pressing. He's there to disrupt the midfield. He's there to allow the other midfielders to do their job, and he's just not doing that. He can't even pass the ball. He's not winning too many tackles. He's just not offering anything. He's looking like a park footballer at the moment. And the wages that he's on is shocking. So
What
Who
about
knows?
yeah, go
Maybe
go.
maybe the fans will make him leave and they do the upper GM's job.
that's the thing.
Which sucker? Which club's gonna take him on? No one will.
That's the thing. No one's gonna want to pay his wages.
No one.
And he doesn't want to. Well, and
He's got three
he
more
doesn't want
years
to.
left.
No one's gonna offer him the wages that he's on, and he's not gonna take a wage cut.
Taker. And he's got 3 more years left on this deal.
Is he a 4-year contract?
He was offered a 4 year contract and signed a
Hmm.
4 year contract.
So we're screwed there.
Well, the only hope is that the Dutch team, get him based on his past history playing for Feyenoord. It's Feyenoord, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a
Or-
final boy. That's why he was
Yeah,
giving it to the Amsterdam
Yeah,
crowd.
you won't
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my only hope is remember Yassin Ayoub? Remember him?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, he was another Feyenoord boy, came
he
and
was.
absolutely did nothing. And I think he ended up going back to Holland because they took him based on his past performances over there. So it's the only hope, as far as I'm concerned.
If someone can do an AI video, just put him on Cruyff's body or something and just please do it. Please do it.
Our, our fans all over social media commenting, 100 million players, something like that.
Please.
I think
But
that's what we did with Spora, wasn't it? When it's the
Yeah,
Mexican club that was
yeah,
showing interest, all our fans were saying, please don't take him, he's our best player.
but yeah. Yeah, like I said, there's and we talked about it like the Deadwood. There's certain players that just Deadwood.
yeah. And then they're not even going to get opportunities going forward. The Druyets, okay.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
about you mentioned underperforming? Not necessarily underperformer. Again, he's a victim of the current setup at the moment. Last year, he was good at the second half under Terim. This season, next to Ingerson, he's struggling, and that's Yedvai.
Yeah. But don't forget when Jedvai started improving his performances, I don't know what it is, but when he
He had
moved
Aral next to him.
but it's not just that, he moved more into the right centre back position. He's now shifted back to the left centre back, and that's what the position he was playing under with Yova because Bart
Yeah.
refused to play the that spot, and then Taram just dropped Bart with their differences, played Arau as that left centre back, and I think Gedvai flourished. I don't think he's been too bad. Like for me, he shows a lot of passion and he's not going to back down. You had that twat Jordan Henderson that was bridging up to was it one of the smaller guys in our team? Um,
Mancini.
maybe Mancini. Yeah, it was Mancini. Because Mancini's bridging up like a tough guy, and then Jedwai was the first one, and he showed a bit of tabuka, like this is not gonna happen here, like
Yeah.
so that was good. Like Henderson, the fake tough guy, going for the little guy, just yeah. But yeah, look, he hasn't been fantastic, but yeah, I think he's been solid. But I'm also going to mention Maximovic for his wages, what we expected. Like when he was first announced that we signed him last season, we thought, bam, this is like the bum metagraphy, this is a big metagraphy, quality player. But I know he's come off the bench, but he started this game, and he's probably a victim of the heavy rotation and the lack of quality around him. He hasn't shown anything special as of yet. That's obviously going to be a question mark so far for him. But he probably needs a bit more time and the quality around him as well.
Well, that was his first starting 11 game, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I won't judge him. Not, it's too early, way too early. Not after one game.
Another one copying it, Sturge mentioned his name briefly before from certain sections, is Barshenkoveld.
Yeah. And the issue started with Bart last season. I pretty much I said it from I think at one of our early podcasts where I don't think he should be the captain. I don't think he's captain material. Um, I think there was a loss in one of the games. I can't remember which game, and I spotted that he just stood there. He wasn't firing up the players. He wasn't being a leader to get his players going, and that's something that annoyed me. Um,
Also, yeah, the players, who was it fighting amongst themselves? We won 5-0 against Panathinaikos.
Yeah, it's ringing bells. It's ringing bells. But he's not leading. He's just yeah.
This thing is just there.
It, did in my eyes deceive me that I see Vayanidi having the captain's armband for a brief period of time against Ajax.
Yeah. That's because Bakasetas was
And
but he took it over Bakasetas. So he took it from Kotsiras and Forti was off at that point. So Vayanidis did have the armband. And I was happy with
Which,
that. And I hopefully that's something that, Alonso's trying to keep him.
yeah, I had no issue with it, but I was surprised to see it. I mean, he's one of probably the youngest starting 11 player at that point in time, and yet he's wearing a captain's armband. That's all, it's interesting. Not that I would have picked anyone else ahead of him based on who was on the pitch at that time.
But I wouldn't get rid of Bart. I don't think he did too bad against Asteras. Like I said, I think we were victims of our own poor midfield selection and our defense was just dealing with the constant pressure. Um, you need Bart to play against these kind of teams. No one in the top five. Bart is good to have against your sixth downwards, essentially. So he's good to have in that sort of aspect. Give like your Ingersons, the advice, whatever, rest anything that they need rest and break. Um, so I would keep Bart, and I think his contract comes off this year. Could be wrong, but he's someone just to have experience. He's been at the club for a while, so he knows the ins and outs. But like I said, he's not leader. He's not the captain. He hasn't shown the leadership. But we'll go now into transfer rumors. The big one is, as you can see on my screen, and it's been announced by Fabrizio Romano, the Here We Go guy, that Man United is close to selling Pellistri to us. This is huge. This is huge because one, he's 22. He's got a close connection with Diego Alonso. Diego Alonso, I believe, gave him his first call up and cap. So there is that connection there. Um, the deal looks to be 9 million with a 30% sell on clause. I'm excited about this if it gets announced. I saw it on socials in the last couple of days. So there was always talks that we're talking with Manchester United about a loan. Talks are progressing, but now those talks went down, especially around the Ajax games. Those talks kind of disappeared. Like you didn't hear much about it. But then I saw stuff on socials where, by various accounts, that something big's gonna happen. Like it's actually progressing, and then you just hear the tune change from a loan signing to a um, permanent signing, and this guy is quality. He will tear up the Greek league, Pellistri, if he does come. He plays as a primarily on the right wing. He can play on the left wing. He's fast and he likes to take on players. He's someone that loves to take on players and he can create as well. So I think if we do pull this off, this is going to be a big signing for the club, and he's obviously going to join us for the fact Alonso's there, so which is why I don't see us getting rid of Alonso. Nick, you look a bit tired there.
No, no, yeah, no. This is what I was hanging for. Despite
So,
all the bad, the Asteras turmoil, this was the topic I was hanging for.
I'm a big Manchester supporter as well, if you guys don't know. So like I said, and I said this in a previous podcast where I think he's just gotten a bit of the raw end where Anthony was given so much more opportunities over Pellistri. I think Pellistri hasn't gotten those same opportunities Anthony has given time and time again. Uh, while Pellistri comes on minimum game time, can't get that impact the same way if he was starting, like compared to if Anthony was starting. But good young player, quick, has confidence, can take on the players. If we pair him up with Vainidis on that right side, that's going to be dangerous. That's a big right hand side threat, especially for the Greek league. And I'm even gonna say, even if for Conference League, that could be a big weapon, that right hand side. So I'm very excited about the Pellistri deal. I tried reaching out to
Still,
a couple of
it's still
the
all. It's only that talks. It's Fabrizio, like, and all the rumors, all the talks coming from the Man United end. Have you seen our end? It's the club's come out and said no, it's not happening.
well, the club hasn't officially said that, but I was trying to reach out to a couple of the Manchester United guys, but they hadn't heard of it up until Fabrizio tweeted it, and then all of the big Man United accounts started talking about this deal looking likely to happen.
They did this with Tete. They said we're not in for him. The next day he was announced.
Also, and I think he is on the outer as well because he got used on so he came off on the bench in the Community Shield, which is the preseason cup, Super Cup, against Man City as a right wing back, as a right back. So playing in that position, he's not comfortable in. He, he was, he got beaten by a header for Man City um to score as well. So he and equalised as well. So I don't think that won him too many plaudits as well. There for that defensive effort, but you can't blame him. You can't put him as a right wing back, and that's not his position. His position is threatening as a winger. I think Ten Hag, with the players signed quite a few players. He's even bought players from like Bayern Munich, Mazrui, whatever, for a right back. So obviously that was just an experiment to see if he can be used as that, but he failed that test. There's a lot of wingers that are ahead of him. Obviously, you got your Garnacho, your Anthony's, your Amad Diallo's, who's rated pretty highly. So there's quite a few wingers ahead of him in that instance. So this still for me is going to happen. Very likely. There was rumors Bologna came late to the party with a interested in a loan with option to buy, but I think from all accounts, Pellistri wants the Diego Alonso reunion.
Do you blame him?
I think it's about finding his feet again and
That's right.
career.
And he doesn't know all the stuff that's going on at Panathinaikos, but for an outsider, from the outside looking in, we're somewhat an attractive proposition, especially if we make the Conference League.
I think the Conference League is key, but I think this signing gets announced by Wednesday
I hope so.
or Wednesday.
And
I think we've got like a history of announcing or a player the last couple. I think that then Philip Max were on a Wednesday. So that's why my best bet is wait until Wednesday for this one to be announced.
you guys, when you signed him, when I say you guys, I mean Man United. I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, 9 million. Was it euro, pounds?
I can't remember the exact fee. I think it was.
I
It
think it
was
was 10, if I'm not
Ten.
mistaken.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He came with like as a prospect, as essentially like an 18-year-old prospect from Uruguay. Um, so he's 22 at the moment, just turning 23 this year. I think he needs his move now if he wants to forge a career. He's
So the rumors are we're going to pay about 8 or 9. That's the
Nine.
rumor.
9 million with
Yeah.
a 30.
Nine with a seller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say it goes ahead, we pay 9. Right. That's a record for us outside of our all-time record, which was Consolene.
Sí, sí, Constantino.
No, Costantino. So it'll be all one of the second highest ever. We got that there that we bought on for 7.5 mil. As much as management is management, and we've criticised them many a time, and I still think they're falling way short on the back office side on many fronts. We can't say they're not spending on players this season. Not when you're signing 2 players for those fees.
I would argue they have to. They got to
I
back
don't
the new
disagree they
talent.
have to, but they're doing it. And
They're
I
doing their
never,
job.
I honestly
They're
did
doing the
not think
minimum.
they'll be spending this much money on any player. Not even close.
Look, for us, this guy ticks every box.
My,
Young, knows
my
Alonso, dynamic,
criticism
all the
is
characteristics.
my big criticism, yes, we're spending the money, but why did we wait so long to spend the money? Why didn't we bring these players in earlier? Why didn't we have a settled squad for Ajax, for Europa?
You know what they'll
And,
argue?
and I think I know the argument why, because your Greek leagues are less attractive options, so you
Spot
got
on.
players looking
Correct.
elsewhere, but you got to offer the money. If the money is right, you got to make it tempting for the player. We're waiting until we're almost going to be potentially without Europe to start signing players. Like you become less attractive for them. You got to you know be on the front foot.
But a player like Pellistri, though, would not take the first strong offer coming from Greece. You'd wait to see if something from Spain or Italy or Germany came through before you accept it. So, yeah, I'm like you. I'm critical of how long it's taken, but a player of his name, I wouldn't take an offer from Greece at the first
But and
offer.
I would usually say the Pellistri talk, signing talks with us. If they're dragging on, it doesn't get done. That's my stance. But the Pellistri loan talks were very strong and that have been ongoing. But something's changed, obviously, in the last few days where it's now a permanent signing.
Or maybe that Man U were just hanging on for a better offer as opposed to from us. So this thing is, if a player of that caliber, and the
Yeah.
fact that Fabrizio Romano is tweeting about him shows how well known. I mean, it's Man U obviously, so it's a global brand. Yeah, that either Man U or the player wouldn't take any offer from Greece at the first opportunity. I'd wait and hang out and see what comes through.
Yeah, but
Different for lesser known players, like an Ingerson, where we could have signed him a month or two earlier because it's Ingerson, right? But not Pellistri. That's my 2 cents anyway. Tete may be different in the sense that Tete was playing at Galatasaray, not Man U. So yeah, we could have done that one sooner. But we don't know if Galatasaray had him on the outer at that point or whether they made a sign and decided he was out. On the flip side as well, the question then goes to, and I don't want to sort of go down this path too much, but when did we tell Verbic he's not wanted? Was it recently, or has he been since the end of May that he's been told, mate, you're not welcome?
I think it's since the
Recent.
Modev game, I reckon.
Yeah, recent.
I think that's when he's been on the outer.
And that's the thing. If Verbic goes to, like, say, Copenhagen, where he's expressed a desire to go back because he loved his days there, a Copenhagen fan may turn around and say, "Well, why didn't we sign him sooner?" But the reality is that he wasn't available sooner because we didn't make the call to get rid of him until later in the piece. That's why I just feel like Pellistri is in that sort of category where there's a few factors that are just outside of our control that's delayed it until now. But not defending the club in terms of their very poor performance on the transfer side of things.
We'll go with one more big signing before we start talking about the potential outgoings. But a big name I won't say big name, but a good name has popped up. His name was also mentioned briefly as one of Alonso's targets. Then that conversation died off. But there's a lot of talks that it's also close to happening as well. So the name is um, Ruben Vargas, Swiss international, 26 years old, from Augsburg. 48 caps with Switzerland with 8 goals. Was in the Euro. I think he scored 1 or 2 goals. Operates
Had a
mainly.
good tournament.
Sorry,
Tournament.
sorry, cutting out there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
He had a good tournament. He was very good at the Euros.
yeah.
yeah, he was.
So he operates as a left wing. That's his main operating position. That's been obviously the key key position that we're targeting. He can also operate as a 10 and a right wing is also quite a bit of versatility there as well. I really would think this is going to be a good signing if this does if it does happen. He did play in the cup game, but he barely saw game time. He came off the bench for like 10 minutes, or 11 minutes. So, um, it's mainly been mentioned in the Greek media. Um, because if you look on Transfer Market had Pellistri at 88% to join us. There's no chat here for Vargas linked with us. So, but it is reported in the Panathinaikos media. His name has popped up, and that left wing is a priority. We can wrap up him, and I don't know what the transfer fee or what the target is. I think it was 6 million. I could be wrong. But if we can wrap him and Pellistri up, we've got one of the best attacks the league has ever seen.
So who then plays on the left, who plays on the right, and who sits on the bench?
If he comes, Vargas starts on the left.
Yeah,
Then you have, if he comes, Pellistri starts on the right, and
yeah,
Forti is up front. So there's the front three, and you've got
yeah.
Tete to come on.
So they're there on the bench. Okay.
But would you go Tete or Vargas as a 10 and have one of them on the left?
Can they do it? Tete can't play on the left.
He played against he got switched to the left
Yeah,
against
he got switched to the left, but
He's more for the
he
right.
hasn't played much on the left in his
yeah.
career. Yeah.
But he can operate there, but Vargas can operate as a 10 as well.
If
Look,
if Vargas has been signed as a utility player where he can play dual roles, then that 100% that excites me. Where you got then those three behind Footy, that'll be amazing. But
Pellistri's main position is a right wing, and he might also shift on that left as well.
the question I've been asked myself is if we're going to spend, say, 9 million Pellistri and we spent 7.5 million on there, we spent what, close to 70 million euros on two players for the one position. Which, yeah, if Pellistri is coming in, there's a clear view that he's going to play on the left, or there's a clear view that there's going to shift to the left, fine. You know, Alonso's the one that's having these conversations, but I just hope that they're not just rolling the dice, getting a big name, and hoping they can adjust to a new position, which is unknown. Whereas Vargas is a proven left winger. There's no question
Right.
about it. Like, it makes perfect sense to get him. So I wouldn't be disappointed at all if Vargas ended up being our first choice left winger if it's down the right.
Spot on. Spot on. Look, the club, I've heard the club's come out and denied both Vargas and Pellistri, but they did the same as I said with Tete. We know the spreadsheet man works in the dark, so maybe look, the other thing I was going to add with Vargas, I heard on it was Sport FM a couple of hours ago, is that he's not keen on coming to Greece. Which again, that 26-year-old coming off a good tournament, Bundesliga, you can't really blame him. I hope we
No.
chase him hard because he'd be a sensational addition.
And we've been chasing him for a little while. The rumours came
Yeah,
up a little while ago. But yeah,
yeah.
but it goes back to what I was saying about Pellistri, maybe. Like, with Vargas, clearly that's not his first choice. He'll be hanging on to the best deal for him. I heard that our offer, those financially, the best for him out of all the offers he's got. So that's why he hasn't shut us down. I'm relying on Greek media here for those reports too, which is a dangerous thing to do.
But it's crazy. You say that our offer's the most financially attractive. It was the same for Giannoulis. Remember, it wasn't too long ago where we were struggling for money. Crazy to think now with the position we're in.
Yeah. And again, that's why I'm not critical this transfer season on how much money we're spending. I think we're spending like long last. How we're executing it is the big problem here.
Well, I'm just if you do a quick search on the name, there's a few like really random accounts, small followings that seem to believe that he's close to an agreement with us. So take it with a grain of salt there, but I reckon one of the two will be announced very shortly. Will be included in the European list for Lens.
I
I
think
reckon
you're right. I
by
think it's going to be the
Wednesday,
man in your photo.
we will have a signing. I just don't know which one it will be. I think a lot more is pointing towards Pellistri just because of the media, but um, by Wednesday is my gut feeling.
Even cross.
Mm, Yeah, outgoings. There hasn't been a whole lot of conversation with outgoings. We know Chokai has been linked with Atromitos as a loan. Palmer Brown, the international mystery man, the man of mystery. Um, he's been linked with a loan as well. I'm not too sure what his fitness levels at if he's recovered from his injury. I've never seen this happen where a 2 week injury has turned into almost it's nearly a full year. It's not too far from a full year.
I think next month's a year.
So I've never seen that in my life.
Eric Palmer Brown's going to sign a contract with the book company produces the Where's Wally books. That's the loan contract.
You're gonna make me do a photo edit and put on the account. I'll do a photo edit. Um, Now one that I believe is very strong happening as well in the next few days is Sporter. Um, Ultimate disappointment for a striker. We paid fair bit for him. His return of goals has been poor. He's not been included in the squad list. I believe you told me that it was reported he had gastro. If you look at his social media today, he's hanging out with Sharon out at a coffee or a pastry shop or something. So must have been the quickest recovery of all time. I think he's been excluded because a sale is imminent. There was strong links with Bratislava, who are I think one tie away from progressing to the Champions League. Don't know if he gets in for that tie or not. But that's the club by all accounts. I think looking likely to happen. I think they're worried that he's going to cost too much, or I don't know if it's that or the wages, but he's a cult hero there. I fully suspect that deal to happen. The Mexican links were rubbish. It's just Mexican telenova style links. I wouldn't buy it for a second. But I'm fairly sure that he will be going to Bratislava. Verbic, you just don't know what's going to happen with Verbic. I think he's been on the outer. He's just not lived up to the hype that he came with. Um, First season he had those marital issues. Second season he'd have one good game, get injured, be average, have that good game, get injured. Just couldn't find that consistency. Um, I think he's also on the outer. Um, I say Sharon staying.
I was going to say with Verbic, I'm disappointed because I had high hopes for him. I thought that we could really do well with him. It's a shame it didn't work out.
Yeah, you saw glimpses of what he can offer. The Ike game away, he
Okay. Yeah.
he tore them. There was glimpses of something there. He just couldn't deliver.
Mm. Whereas Spora, there was a bit of a question mark when we signed him in terms of, yeah, he failed to deliver over, is it Sporting he came from?
Middlesbrough,
And yeah, but and really, he's never really shown that he can step up and be a number one striker.
or it did come from Sporting. One of the two. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Sporting. But I think he had a loan at Middlesbrough or something.
yeah.
yeah,
And
but
even Spotter, like we criticize the guy, and rightfully so. It's not like he hasn't contributed at all. He hasn't lived up to his pay packet, but he scored like a few goals, a couple of them, like that Villarreal one in the Europa League. That was a top goal.
He scored against the Gravity as well, but if you're
What I
paying
was gonna say
bucks,
is like compare him to Villena. Villena's worse.
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah,
without a
yeah.
doubt,
No, you're
without.
right there.
But what you're paying for spot and what you're expecting,
Oh,
I
spot
think
on.
Jeremy Jeff with probably 1/10 of the minutes that played of Sporter got the same amount of league goals.
Yeah, yeah. Spotter does it. Sorry, yeah, may have deserved to be second choice ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't think, in my opinion, Jeremy Jeff is a starting player. I think I've seen that a couple of times. I think he's more of an impact player.
Yeah,
I think he plays much better as an impact player, not as a starting player. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get if a signing of a striker or do we promote within Dabizas because Jeremy Jeff will be the second striker. Um, that'd be interesting as well to see. Um, there was one
no.
other one.
I've got one for you, but I'm gonna leave it till last. You're gonna
Go,
go
go, go,
first.
go while I search up this name because the name has slipped my mind.
It's not an outgoing. It's one more to make you laugh. I don't know if you've heard it. I just saw it earlier tonight, our time. Sporting Lisbon have signed a striker, not 40.
They're a weird bunch, and I'm gonna talk about them, but you go on about that. Um, there was a young prospect, Greek kid,
Oh,
from
Zagreb.
Croatia. Greek kid
Yeah.
was dad has a business there. He's been in, I think playing, I think
Zagreb. Dinamo
yeah,
Zagreb.
but he been playing um I can't find the name. Um, he's been playing I think in the under 17s and he scored like 117 goals in 93 games thereof. But he's a Greek kid. Um, and I think we beat out a few other Greek clubs as well to sign him. So there was a bit of shock into that he decided to come to Greece and leave the Dinamo system because was it Dinamo Zagreb he came from? Yes.
Yep.
Because Dinamo Zagreb is one of the best youth producing talents. So not too sure how they let that one slip out of the net. They're one of the most profitable clubs as well in terms of transfers being transfers out in Europe. They're definitely in the top 10. So it's a big coup for the club. Could he be 42.0? Could he do better? Let's see how the club develops him.
Maybe the kid's living the dream. Maybe he's a Buff fan.
I don't know too much
Yeah.
about him. No one knew anything about him until like it just came out of nowhere that we just signed this potential like machine, like a goal scorer. Like he's just carved it up in youth level.
And from memory, he's not 17 either. He's playing under 17s, but he's
Yes,
much
he's
younger.
16.
15.
15.
15.
I can't remember his name, but I can't.
Is it Jason Memphis? I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. His dad's a businessman, yeah?
yes.
Okay. Well, maybe he's got some sort of advertising contract with Sky TV.
But yeah, that's a pretty good coup for the club. So there's that. And I'm gonna before we go to the next topic, one more. It's not a player outgoing. These sporting, they're creeps. Their fans are weird. They're creeps. There wasn't Turks.
Much worse.
They're absolute creeps. They're creating fan videos. They're begging Forty to come, celebrating when we lost. The newspaper A Bola, so that's a general newspaper. And my friend, Portuguese friend, has told me it's a pretty reputable newspaper. They've been saying that it's almost a done deal. They've not met the valuation for starters, and they're just being creeps. They're creating videos. Their technical director wore a Fortis sporting jersey with the number 7. It's just creepy. It's like, pay up, you peasants. Give the 30 million, match what Ipswich has done, and maybe we might talk. They've been lowballing us the whole time. The highest they came at was maybe 20 million, I believe. They did even throw in a 17 million plus Alexandropoulos, which we rejected straight away. Um, but they're just creeps. They're peasants. Pay 30 million or just bugger off.
Yeah, Tombula.
Yeah,
At
a
20 million
baller,
off them. I'd take 20 million if they took Vilena, Aitor, Begovic
Spora.
as a package deal.
Yeah, it's just creepy behavior. So
They flooded. When we lost to Ajax, they flooded our Twitter.
yeah, it's just creepy behavior. They're saying to freeze 40, but there's no indication that 40 wants to leave. If anything, he's close to re-signing a new contract, which will keep him longer. And I think that's part of a gentleman's agreement that he'll be able to leave next year. It's just pretty much where we're giving him a bump in a contract, so he's rewarded, and as a gentleman's agreement, he gets sold off next summer. But
Exactly.
it's
But it's a win-win for both sides. He gets
yeah,
a pay rise, and we hopefully get an even bigger fee. Hopefully, we demand upwards of 30 million this time next year.
a lot of it's going to come if how he performs and
Form, spot on.
form and playing in Europe as well, so that form can show.
Yeah,
Qualify for
if
Europe.
we're out of Europe, we need to win the league, basically.
We're gonna rely heavily on him. But yeah, just really creepy bunch sporting. So yeah, pay up peasants. Um, but yeah,
We've done a bit of business with them, so it's not like we haven't done business with them before. Obviously, we mentioned Spora. We sold them Alexandropoulos, so it's not like the clubs are on bad terms.
no, but
Yeah, we've done good, say good business, as in like I don't think either club's been difficult to deal with. Just with 40s, no, it's as simple as that.
But surely it's almost tapping up a player, especially when a TD's got the 40 jersey, things like that, and they're you know I don't know what proof you can use about the tapping up, but it's almost like surely there's like enough evidence, especially when the TD's pulling that stunt and putting it up as a video. That's got to be tapping up a player, surely.
I can't imagine Papa Dimitrio putting a Pellistri name on the back of our jersey.
Papa Dimitri should put Joy Cares, the guy that Sporting want 100 million from. Just put a button like goes jersey with Joy Cares there. They want 100 million from Arsenal for him, so just do the same thing. We'll offer 3 million and see and just pressure him. Free Joy Cares. Cares.
I
Uh,
reckon in return we should send to Sporting a Sporting jersey of Eric Palmer Brown on the back.
and the Wes Wally logo.
Well, we've got plenty of those jerseys that haven't been worn by him, so he's got a few spare, I imagine.
He's gotta have the most like freshest jersey ever.
Is he even in Greece?
I haven't even seen his socials.
He
Like
might not even be in Greece.
Uh, it's a mystery. We've got to solve this mystery. Where is he?
and yeah, we're gonna go into we'll wrap this up as we're close to the end. Um, I was gonna say we do have just one or a couple of pieces of basketball news. So, um, the the Yanakopoulos tournament sold out. It's going to be hosted at the old ancient Olympic Stadium. They're going to do it up where I think it's a glass floor they're going to play on. The design, and with the glass floor, they're able to do that as video stuff, similar to what the NBA All-Star Weekend did. Um, or the in-play tournament as well, and the All-Star Weekend. So, um, that's gonna be crazy. I think it sold out instantly. 30 odd thousand.
35. Yeah.
That's like once in a lifetime, man. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a fantastic experience for the fans that that are going. Excellent work by Yanakopoulos to set it up as well.
When is it? Is it a month away still?
I think it's sooner than that. I
I
think
thought it was sooner than that as well.
yeah, I think the
Okay.
teams that are scheduled to come is Maccabi, Partizan, and I think FS. I think they're the teams that are scheduled to come as well. Um, and in basket news, we are close to, and it's almost a done deal. Where we're about to sign up former NBA player, Miami Heat player Omar Yurtseven. He is of Turkish background. Um, he played for Miami Heat and Utah Jazz. He's that center position. It is something that we have been looking for. Um, Something that we've got Lesot in, and we got Costa Antetokounmpo. So he's coming from the NBA. He's played EuroLeague before. Um, he's played at Miami Heat and most recently at Utah Jazz. So he does have the pedigree to be playing in the NBA. But what 4 years is still something. He played about 48. Just looking at the things, 48 games. He started 12 games. You know, he's obviously not there progress as a scorer. So he's averaged in the NBA 5 points. He's played in playoffs as well. At Miami. Didn't get too many minutes, but he does have playoff experience. To be used in the playoffs, you got to be somewhat decent, even if you're getting garbage minutes. You usually use your best players as well, unless the game is long gone. So he has played He has got finals that's under his belt. But he's the defensive presence that obviously um Ataman is looking for as well. So that one looks like to be done deal. So there is that, and also I'm just trying to get one last item out as well. Um, Obviously we want to thank our listeners always listening. Do have a shout out. There was a positive comment left by one of our fans as well. In the comments. Sorry, I forgot your name. Um, but obviously we look at all comments, try and respond to a few of the fan questions, whether it's on socials. If you want to obviously drop a message on the YouTube comments, in the Spotify comments, even on we primarily act from X, Twitter, but if you want to Facebook, just drop a comment. Just drop us a comment there as well. We do appreciate always feedback. We always appreciate comments as well. So, thank you for listening. Always make sure you share as well. Panathafan, Nick, like always, pleasure. I think it's time to get some sleep as well after a long, long day, especially with the Asteras game. But yeah, glad to be speaking with you boys again.
Gents.
Take care.